made a little bit of money or lost a lot of money. And so I advise, my recommendation is do your research, find solid projects that you think are going to be around in 3 to 4 different years, and just stick with those. I think that's your best bet. You know, as a trader, it comes with a lot more traits that you need to have. I think the number one thing is patience and discipline. And it's ironic because I think the crypto community, it attracts people who are impatient and maybe not so disciplined, right? So,
the lottery.
And it kind of is. I mean, there are some coins I put $2,000 in and have turned it into $80,000, right? So there's sometimes you get lucky, but you know, all that can only be done. You only get lucky. The people who get lucky are those who are prepared, right? So it's the people who have done a lot of research, right, and have put their money into the smartest places possible.
Right. But
so,
see, this stuff, it keeps moving.
Right, and so the reason this keeps moving is because it's the live price, and so you see how it's 0.008982. That is, everything is pegged to Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that means that one Binance token, because that's what we're looking at, is 0.0089 of a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that can get confusing too, because as Bitcoin's price increases, you're going to see more and more decimals, right? So we call those Satoshis, and it's important to basically understand how it relates. And there's a whole nother thing of why it's pegged to Bitcoin or Ethereum, and what that means. Because if you believe that the price of Bitcoin is going to rise, if you think, you know, Bitcoin's at 10,000 today, maybe a little less right now, but if you think it's going to be 50,000 in a year, then the argument, and I'm torn on it, I think I agree with it now, but when I first started, it was of high contention in my mind. But the argument is that if you believe that Bitcoin is an appreciating asset, then you should only be concerned about how many Bitcoins you can get. So for example, if Binance today, right now it's at $10, if it rose to $100 and Bitcoin was at the same price, that means you could buy 10 times more Bitcoin with your return. So a lot of people that I know within this community, their main concern is not to increase the dollar amount that they have, but the Bitcoin amount that they have. Does that make sense? So they look at it in terms, if they started out with 10 Bitcoins, can I get 11? Can I get 12? Can I get 13? Can I get 14? They don't look at it as, you know, if they started out with $100,000 today, can I get 120,000? They want more and more Bitcoins. And you really saw this come into effect with the recent rise when Bitcoin went from $6,000 to $20,000, because at first, before the alt party and all the alts rose with it, the only thing that was going up was Bitcoin. And everyone's thinking to themselves, man, if I just had more Bitcoin, then I'd be getting these 10-time gains too, right? And eventually most people did. You know, I feel bad for the people who sold all their alts as Bitcoin was 20,000. But that's why I say do your research, find good coins, and just hold on to them. When you day trade, you know, 90% of the day traders out here, they trade with emotion. And when you trade with emotion, you're trading on the past of what's already happened, and you're not predicting, you're not anticipating what the market is going to do, right? So let's say you want to buy a coin, you know, and to kind of backtrack it a little bit, there are some good coins pretty much everywhere. I mean, I think you have to know where to look. And one of my favorite places is Reddit, Reddit cryptocurrency. There's bitcointalk.org, there's Medium, but you find these good projects, and I'll create a separate episode on how to do that. But you analyze the token metrics, the team, all that good stuff. My biggest holding is Neo, just because I think it's the safest. I think it's going to be Neo's year. But let's say I wanted to buy some Neo, right? And let's see if his coins have come yet. So his Ethereum is not there yet. Let's see if it's pending. All right, so you can see it right here. It's confirming 13 out of 30 transactions. It's going to be there soon. And really, the speed of which these deposits take place depends on the number of confirmations the exchange requires, as well as how congested the token is. So you might have heard something called the crypto kitty phenomenon, where it was a very high number volume of exchanges, and it really slowed down the network, which led to Ray blocks. So I got into Ray blocks at about 25 cents and sold some at its peak at about $35. So I don't know. I think you do the math on that, but I think I made about 5,000% return on that investment. But the reason I invested into Ray blocks was because I saw this phenomenon occur where one game, one application basically put the Ethereum network at a standstill, right? And to me, then the next question, well, how are we going to capitalize on this opportunity? There's going to be a demand for a coin that is instantaneous and without any transaction fees, because sending Ethereum was outrageous. I think it cost me $30-$40 to send $500 or $1,000.
Yeah.
So, you want to capitalize on the market mood as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you see like say that's $120
Right.
a coin? Can you see the past history?
Yeah,
on that
definitely.
Coin?
So,
And what do you look at?
this is the all-time, right? So, I got into Neo when it was, I think, right there at about $7, and sold some along the way. Probably sold some when I shouldn't have sold, but I'm still holding on to a pretty decent sized bag. And then you can also change the time frame, and so obviously if you look at that, it's just going to be huge. Pretty much every chart is like that right now, but you can look at year to date. You can look at within the last month, how has the price fluctuated, right? And there's common like trading patterns that we can get into later on. And then you can also make your own custom one. You can just go down here and see within, if I want to see what happened February 18th in the first 12 hours, I can zoom in there and it'll just keep on zooming in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And then you can see the volume below here. You want to make sure that there's a healthy amount of volume as well.
Makes sense.
And then again, what you should really do is look at Neo and its prices that it's trading at.
4,000.
So something like that, it's only at 4,000 because someone put a price that high, and you want to be careful, because if you buy at the market price, if someone bought at the market price right there, they would be purchasing a Neo for 30 times what it's actually worth. So you want to make sure that there's healthy volume behind it, right? And then you do want to see if you can get a better deal. So we're buying it on Binance just for the sake of simplicity, and it's at $118. But if we went to KuCoin, and you want to find the same trading pair, you can see that every altcoin is pegged to rather fiat, and fiat refers to paper money like the euro, the peso, the dollar, right?
Yeah.
And then crypto is all these different altcoins. And sometimes they're actually pegged to different alts like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and lately there's been a lot of talk about pegging to different coins other than Bitcoin, because what you'll see in this market is that when Bitcoin goes down, everything else is going down. It doesn't matter if it's a good project. When Bitcoin goes down, everything starts to collapse, and that's a fundamental issue right now, because the thing about Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is technologically inferior to most of these coins. The only reason it's worth so much, one, it has a very limited supply, it has 21 million tokens in total. But in addition to that, it's just the technology is slow. It's outdated. The community, they can't decide. The reason you're hearing about these forks is that developers constantly want to move into their own path and do something else, right? Whereas the Ethereum community, they're very, very collaborative, right? They make decisions together, and so that's why you haven't really seen any popular forks within Ethereum, and I hope it keeps that way too.
So within this one coin, there's multiple coins.
There's not multiple coins. There's multiple ways you can buy it. So you can buy it using ETH.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy it using Bitcoin. You can buy it using dollars. You can buy it using the Binance token.
Is that where we're going?
The
route we're
Binance
on?
token is its own. It's a different crypto. We're using the Binance platform, but not its coin, which I think is a really interesting thing to touch upon about what Binance is doing, creating a coin that is pegged to all the other ones, which again is going to increase the demand, right? And as you increase that demand, that price continues to go up. So let's see if that coin is there yet, and we'll just buy a couple to okay, so it is there. You excited to make your first trade? Yeah, Kyle's excited. He's excited.
Sound excited.
So we're gonna buy Neo to ETH, right? And we can see that, just to give you guys some of the basics, these are order books, right? They are basically what volume people want to buy and sell at. So I can see right here is the lowest sell, right? And then right here is the highest offer right here. So, and I can see a couple of different things, with chart manipulation. I can see it in the 1 minute, the 5 minute range. And essentially that just means that each bar represents that amount of duration. So if I do a day, each of these bars sums up the day and what occurred overall. And the depth right here, this is, you can see that basically the sell and buy walls, right, of how much demand. So you can see that right here, there's not a lot of people selling, and there's a lot of people with limit orders of what to buy. And a limit order is essentially buying or selling a coin not at the current price. So right now the current price is 0.139806, right?
Yeah.
And let's say I want to buy half a Neo or a third of a Neo, but the price that I want to do it at, I think it's going to go down to $110. So let's put it at 110, right? So right there. So this price is not going to get executed right away. It's going to wait, and you can actually sometimes even catch it. But you can see that I have an open order right here, and it's open because it's not at the market price. I have to wait for it to hit 0.132 in order for it to execute. That make sense?
No.
Okay. What doesn't make sense about it? Because I know it's a lot of information, so
Yeah,
it can
it's
get
just
really
a lot
confusing.
of information. I feel like
So basically,
one.
let's say let's put into simplistic terms, right? So the market order of a stock, and let's just pull up a stock, just because I think what gets confusing sometimes is the fact that we're talking about it in Ethereum and not dollar amounts. But let's say the price of Apple today, right? So Apple's at $171 today,
Yeah.
right? A limit order would be saying I want to buy it at $165, but I don't want to watch it the entire time. So I'm just going to enter it in the computer, and I'm going to say that if the price hits $165, I'm going to buy it at $165.
Then it'll automatically buy it.
Then it automatically buys it at 165, right? And the same thing on the other side, right? If we want to sell, and I want to sell an Apple share, but I want to sell it at 180, right? So I'm going to wait till it hits 180.
Yeah.
And then the system is automatically going to execute that order for me. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Any questions about that?
About this investment?
Not about this investment. We can talk about Neo later. But I'm sure there's other questions in terms of cryptocurrencies. So Binance isn't the only. It's not the only exchange out there, right? So one of the complicated things is that the difference between like a stock market or something like Fidelity is that they're a stock broker. So regardless of what exchange a security is on, they typically offer that service. But when you want to buy one of these more obscure coins, you're logging onto exchanges, so you have to sign up with a different exchange each and every time. And that can get complicated. That's really, at the end of the day, you're going to have a couple Bitcoins on this exchange, a couple Bitcoins on that. So you really want to centralize them onto a cold wallet, onto a hard wallet.
Yeah. Which is
right, which is right here.
What would be like the the main thing that you would focus on, rather than like everything you explained?
Right.
Would you not have to know all of that stuff? Like the first day of doing this, what would you to make it simple, instead of knowing like technical like everything?
I mean, I think really it's just yeah, we did kind of draw it out, but I think there's just so much information that I want to get to the people listening and watching this video. But the point of this video, believe it or not, was to basically show people how to buy and how to kind of withdraw and send. So even within here, you go to balances, if someone wants to send you money, then you hit deposit and give them this address. The thing about an exchange is that they don't tell you what your private keys are. So with every, here, we'll show you, we'll make a quick example, and then don't use this account because people are going to see your private key. But within EtherDelta, right, when I create a new account, I have a public address and then the private key, which I just did not see, so we're going to create another one. So when I create this, there's a public address and a private key. If someone has your private key, what they can do is they can input their private key and they can take all of your coins.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that's good.
There we go. So never give your private key out. But I mean, it's so hard to answer that question of what the one place to go for. I mean, I think this video was just to kind of give people a kind of lengthy breakdown of how to work in exchanges. I'm going to start creating basically a curriculum of how you evaluate these coins, right? And more than welcome to join me on future videos. Yeah. And we can just, you can do your research and you can come over and we can do it live on breaking things down and how to methodically find coins and find projects that are solid and will be around in the future.
Yeah, that's what I'd be concerned about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, YouTube. Kyle and I signing off.